Chambers of the Occult may contain content that might not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Talking.
Welcome back to Chambers of the Occult. And as you just heard, I'm here with a very special guest. Or if you're seeing this on YouTube, I am Jay, and this is...
I am Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi.
Great energy from the start. People know you love talking, and we put a microphone in front of you.
I love to chat. That's why I'm a therapist.
And that's why I'm a tour guide. So yeah, the end of the year is coming up, and I was like, hey Sam, hop on.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you, first of all, so much. I'm so excited. Yes, I love to chat, but specifically, I love to chat all things spooky. And if you just need to tell me to shut up, just say, hey, too much.
Oh, this is the magic of having a microphone in front of you. You have freedom to interrupt me whenever you want. But this goes both ways.
Yes, I'm super excited to be here. I have some stories to share, and I just am super excited to hear what you have to share with me. So this is going to be a blast.
Yes. I have a true crime story for you. Yeah, cool. That's the goal. So yeah, should we just get into it?
Sure. Yeah. I've been waiting with bated breath all day.
With what?
Bated breath. It's an old lady saying.
Oh, you're not an old lady.
You haven't heard that phrase before?
I don't think I have.
I don't know what it means. I just hear people say it when they're anxious, so I just thought this was the appropriate time.
Totally fine. So today I have a story. It's a little, I don't know if I would call it unsettling, but you can be the judge for that.
I love judging.
Good. And this is not taking place like in a city or like in a forest or like in a highway. It's taking place out in the middle of the ocean.
The spookiest place, in my opinion. Okay.
Oh, wait, is it?
I'm not scared of the ocean because I like to cruise, and I think the ocean, if I was born an animal, I would definitely be some kind of like marine life. But my biggest fear in life is being stranded by myself in the middle of the ocean. I have no idea how I would end up in that situation, but like the ocean, I mean, no one can hear you. So
true.
I'm sure this is going to be a great example of that. And I'm sure I have a cruise in like 6 weeks, so now I'm going to be all freaked out.
Well, Sam, I think we should have discussed this before because this does take place in a cruise ship.
Of course it does. Of course it does. The universe is always on my side. And
I've known you've gone on cruises and you've like posted them on your story. And I was like, what do I want to cover with Sam? And I was like, cruise. So yeah.
This was intentional. Right. Well, at least I'm cruising on a coast. I'm not going between continents. So
okay, cool. Yeah. So this also is not like anything recent within like the last 20 years, 25 years. This happened in 1998.
Okay, I was 4.
Okay. I was 3, I think. But yeah. So cruises worked quite differently back then as well.
Yeah.
So I also specifically picked this because if I say something that it's like that's not how it works anymore, feel free to interrupt me and tell me.
Okay.
Or like that would never fly today.
I'll take notes and then I'll circle back with you at the end.
Mm. You're like, remember when you said this? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's not how
that
we
was
do things anymore.
wrong.
Now, this is a question for you, Sam.
Okay.
So when people talk about cruise ships, um,
Mhm.
what do you think they assume about safety, like rules and accountability?
Mm. Well, I can tell you what I assume
Hmm.
because here's the thing. I know I come from a very privileged perspective of cruising because I've really only been on a Disney cruise, and those are insanely safe. I think every time there's a man overboard, more than half the time Disney's able to find them and
Okay.
rescue them. But other cruise lines, which are not quite up to date and things like that, might not be able to. I don't work on a cruise line. I don't speak for a cruise line, but this is
Yeah, yeah. Your experience, that's totally
my
fine.
experience. Yeah, yeah. But with Disney, and because I worked for Disney too, I know that they take safety to a very, 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 very like serious effort. I
Hmm.
have been on Carnival. It wasn't great. The the safety drill is not mandatory. So I was like, "Oh, all right, I'm still going." So I think it depends on if you've never been on a cruise. They're pretty scary. I can
Okay.
understand. Because my first couple, I still get nervous on the first day. I still have
Hmm.
visions of just like, toppling over.
Oh,
Yeah. But
stop watching
I
the Titanic.
I know. I don't. I don't do that or the Poseidon. Um, but I think in general, some people are like, "Oh heck yeah, if that's the way I'm gonna go, I'm gonna die happy." That's my mom. Um, but a lot of my friends are like, "No, thank you. We don't want to
Mm,
cruise," because it's true. Like I said earlier, if you get stranded, like I don't know what the protocol is
no one
to
can hear you scream.
no one can hear you. No one's gonna come find you. You're just a little dot in the middle of the ocean. I'm really selling cruises here, aren't I? Everyone should go on one.
If anything, I feel like you're selling Disney cruises over any other cruise.
That's so true. I don't work for them anymore, and so I'm not. This is not a paid partnership by any means. But oh my god, I'm going on my like fifth one in February, so you can
Hmm.
tell that even though I'm a little bit nervous, the whole experience just
Yeah,
overrides nerves.
totally fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think like cruises are it's what people call like a closed system
yeah,
because you board at the port, you disembark at a port, and like in between you're like in a massive structure with like staff, passengers,
mhm.
security, schedule activities, and like literal physical boundaries, in this case the ocean.
Right, right. And then also too, when you talk about safety, now my mind is going into like work mode. But then one of the reasons my dad is kind of like iffy about cruising, he'll still go, but like they make you wash your hands constantly. I mean, constantly.
Oh,
Like my
really?
skin is like raw because it's so easy to spread germs and things like that. So
Mm,
I've never cruised for more than like 4 days. I don't think my immune system could handle anything longer than that. So
hmm.
it's really, really common for people to get sick on cruises. Like obviously seasick, but like colds and things like that. So if
Yeah.
you're really like, immune to that, I would actually stay away from it.
Wow,
But
that's actually something I did not know.
yeah, yeah. And most cruises, if not all, have a doctor on board and things like that, but they're kind of limited in what they can do for you. So I'm always like pumping that vitamin C like a week before. I'm staying hydrated. I'm taking my zinc every night. Because yeah, you're pretty like close to everybody and um yeah. So that's the other thing that comes to mind. But I've never gotten sick. I've never like gotten a cold or anything like that. As long as you're like on top of it, it's just do a little bit more than you normally do. It's fine.
Nice. Well, cruises have changed a lot, and people have assumptions like someone can't just vanish on a cruise, or if they're missing, there's a procedure, or if something happens, authorities step in fast. But in the late 1990s, this was a major gap
Okay.
because not every corridor had cameras, not every deck had constant oversight, and not every security response was built prioritizing missing passengers over keeping the vacation vibe intact.
Mm.
So, also, jurisdiction can be messy
Hmm.
because the ship might be owned by a company in one place, registered in another country, and then staffed by crew all over the world. Um, so yeah, so if something happens, you're not just asking, where is this person? You're asking who is responsible for this now.
Maritime law. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Hmm. So let's get into it. So
Okay.
this is the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley.
I just got the chills. I just watched this like 2 or 3 weeks ago. This,
Heck,
okay.
uh-huh.
I have so many theories.
Okay, perfect.
I'll wait till
Because
the
I have
end.
a couple, but you can definitely jump in because now you know what this is, and clearly it's fresh in your mind.
Mm-hmm. I literally got the goosies. Okay, go for it.
Hmm. I also loved how you're like, I'm going on a cruise soon. I'm gonna watch this about cruises.
I'm just gonna watch this. Like you said, it's not 1998 anymore.
Hmm. But yeah, so as you can imagine, this revolves around Amy Lynn Bradley. At the
Mhm.
time in 1998, she was 23 years old, just shy of turning 24. She
Mhm.
was very athletic. She had been a strong swimmer, and she studied sports science and had plans for more school and more of a future. She wasn't traveling alone. This wasn't an isolated thing. She was on the cruise with her parents, Ron and Eva, and her younger brother, Brad. And if at
Mhm.
some point I say something that's like different or like similar to what you heard, and you're like, but I heard it this way, feel free to let me know.
Oh yeah, I'm just happy to hear another perspective.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm mentioning that she was here with people because sometimes when someone disappears, people think that they're drifting or they're running away or trying to start over. But
Right.
this isn't that kind of story.
There was no signs indicating this.
No. If anything, she had purchased some postcards for some friends, letting people know, like, hey, I'm having a good time. But Amy
Yeah.
was close with her family and she was excited to be there. And according to her family, she was not someone who would just vanish without telling them. Um, she, the reason that they were going on a cruise is because the dad, if I'm correct, he was what kind of life insurance salesman, and at his company there was a raffle, and he ended up winning um, two tickets for the cruise. So it's going to be him and his wife, and they purchased additional tickets for
Mhm.
her, for their daughter and their son.
Mhm.
So basically 50% off.
Right. And that's
and
pretty good.
yeah, and Amy wasn't super excited about it, but she came around to the idea of the cruise.
Mhm.
And like I said, she wasn't excited, not because she couldn't swim, but because it was the idea of being surrounded by open water that made her nervous,
Mhm. Mhm.
which will be important later because that's one of the biggest theories of maybe she jumped overboard. Um,
Mm. Mhm.
so keep that in your back pocket. Now, the cruise was Rhapsody of the Seas, a Royal Caribbean ship.
Okay.
The trip takes place in March of 1998, and it was sailing through the Caribbean with a schedule to stop in Curaçao.
Mm.
Now, everything changed the morning that the ship reaches the port. Because the night before the ship docks in Curaçao, the family's having dinner, they're taking their pictures, those formal cruise photos, and later they're out enjoying the nightlife on board. Amy and her brother were up late. There was music, there were dancing. It's the kind of like cruise energy where it feels like you're on vacation because there's like no real world anchor. And I think that's what appeals to a lot of people on cruises.
Mhm. Mhm. It's a really good like you're literally separated from land. So there's an
Hmm.
actual like, barrier between real life and vacation life.
Hmm. And it was around 1 a.m. that the parents got tired, so they went back to their cabin. And I know my parents would never be up till that late.
No.
Now, Amy and Brad were clearly willing to stay out longer. So they were socializing with some members of the ship band.
Hmm.
And in some accounts, one particular band member gets mentioned more than anyone else, the bass player. His
Right.
name was Alistair Douglas,
Okay.
often referred to online with a nickname, but we'll keep it simple. We'll just say Alistair.
Okay.
And around 3:40, Amy and her brother return to the cabin. She and her brother are sitting at the balcony together, talking and listening to music. And eventually, Brad gets tired. He goes inside to sleep. Amy stays outside of the balcony, lying on the lounge chair. And that was the last that the family saw of her.
Hmm. And this was like at early morning, like 1 or 2.
Like 3:40 in the morning.
Oh, okay, so a
The
little bit. Oh yeah, after the parents went to bed. Okay.
Yeah, the parents went to bed at 1 o'clock. The I was gonna call them the kids. The
The
daughter and
siblings.
son,
Yeah.
yeah, were out until like 3:40 in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
Now, some people believe that she fell asleep on the balcony, and I don't think that would be unusual for a cruise.
Yeah. I mean, it can rock you to sleep.
Hmm. And that's part of what makes this eerie because it's not like she stormed off after a fight. It was a
Mm.
good night. They were partying. That her brother and her were talking out in the balcony, and then like he went to sleep. She stayed there.
Mhm.
Now, a few hours later, her dad wakes up and he notices that she's gone from the balcony. The balcony door is open and she's gone.
Hmm.
Now, what was left behind is one of the loudest parts of the case because her shoes were still in the cabin. Her cigarettes and her lighter were the only things that were missing. Her ID and her passport were still in the room.
Mm.
Now, if you've ever traveled, you know like the rule that even if you forget everything else, you don't forget like your shoes or your IDs when you're planning to leave.
Right. Right.
So this is where we're into the theory that this doesn't look planned.
Mhm.
Her father initially did what a lot of people did, like the first hour of panic. He tries to convince himself that it's just something simple, that there should be an explanation. Maybe he wandered to like a common area. Maybe he fell asleep somewhere. Maybe she fell asleep somewhere. Maybe there was a misunderstanding.
Mhm.
So he searches the ship, the common areas, places that they've been through the night, and there's no sign of Amy. That's when the family decides to alert the ship staff. And this is when it doesn't just become about the disappearance, but about the response. Because the next destination mattered.
Mhm.
Even if today, like someone was missing and their shoes and IDs were still in the room, that would kind of ring an alarm that this isn't normal.
Right.
And because someone overslept somewhere, it's one thing. But if someone disappeared without their essentials, is a completely different thing.
Right.
So the family reports that Amy is missing in the early morning. And according to multiple retellings, the ship staff initially responds in a way that feels like they're minimizing the severity of her missing.
Mm.
There's not an urgent ship-wide lockdown. There's not a full emergency protocol that treats the ship like a crime scene. Um, there's reports that the ship did not immediately broadcast a clear missing person alert,
Mhm.
distribute her photo to passengers, or stop disembarkation at the port.
Mm.
So instead, the ship docked in Curaçao, and the people began to get off. So this is the moment where that closed system stops being a closed system. Because once the ship docks, thousands of people step off into the port.
Right.
Anyone can blend into the crowd. Passengers, crews, a stranger. And if Amy did leave the ship by choice or by force, that docking window could have been that exit.
Oh, true.
And if she didn't leave the ship, Um, in that same window, that's where evidence disappears. Doors open, movement increases, noise rises, people
Right.
leave.
Right.
So the idea that the response lag during the most crucial window is what a lot of people have pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
Cruise staff probably have dealt with all kinds of situations, people in the wrong cabin, people passed out, people missing because they're hungover somewhere. But the question here becomes of how long do you treat this as probably nothing before you think it's the worst case scenario?
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, the family believed that this was when that line was crossed and it was too late.
Okay.
Um, Now, there was a lot of dispute here about how the early searches went because there was nothing found. There was no confirmed evidence that she fell overboard, no confirmed witness to for a fall, and like there was no body recovered. So that's a huge detail because people can go overboard and never be recovered.
Yes, it's almost near impossible to find them.
Hmm. And I think the absence of that confirmation is what kept this case alive for so long because we're stuck with multiple possibilities. Was it an accident that she fell? Was it intentional? Was it foul play? Or did she leave the ship willingly or not willingly?
Right.
Yeah, and each one has its problems because if she fell overboard, why is there no evidence or why was she so close when she feared the ocean so much even though she was a good swimmer?
Mm-hmm.
If it was voluntarily that she left, why did she leave her essentials? ID,
Mm-hmm.
passport, shoes. And if it's foul play on board, there was no trace of it.
Hmm.
So this is why it turned into the point where this was the illusion of a closed system.
Hmm.
Because once the system fails at a moment like this, it doesn't matter how quote unquote controlled it looked on paper.
Right.
Now, when she disappeared, and the parents talked to the staff. There was like a quick announcement of like, "Hey, Amy Lynn Bradley, please show up to like this desk."
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I think, the only thing that they did, and she didn't show up.
Hmm.
So after the disappearance, the case becomes a lot of what became what a lot of missing people cases become. It's a trail of sightings, um, mistaken identities, or was it something explotive? Exploitative. What am I trying to say?
Exploitative.
Thank you. I think that was the word. Yeah. Because there's plenty of reports through the next couple of years that people claim that they saw a woman who looked just like Amy in the Caribbean, in
Mm.
Curaçao. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a report from a taxi driver. There was also a report from a tourist, a later military report, a department store bathroom encounter, and one of the most infamous photos from an escort website years later, where a woman called Jazz resembled Amy strongly.
I just got the goosebumps.
Hmm.
I didn't know about
Uh,
that part.
yeah. So when they first reached Curacao, the crew told the family that they had two choices. They could either disembark in Curacao or they could stay on the ship.
Okay.
So the family decided to disembark, maybe try to search for Amy, ask around, and that's when the FBI got involved. They,
Oh,
yeah, because they had no idea, once again, in whose jurisdiction this fell.
yes, that's so true.
And that's when the FBI told them that they don't believe that the crew did a proper, thorough search and that they should try to get back onto the ship.
The family should try to get back on
Yes,
the
the
ship.
family should try to get back on the ship.
Okay.
Now, about those sightings, a lot of the eyewitnesses felt that this was definitely her that they saw. But unfortunately, eyewitnesses is like the less reliable type of evidence
Yeah.
because the brain is just so, what's the word? I wouldn't call it gullible, but there's a better word for it.
Like overwhelmed with information.
Yeah, but I
And
think it's very susceptible.
yeah, yeah, like your brain kind of sees what it wants to see sometimes.
Hmm. So people can't be like 100% sure whether this was wrong, right or wrong when they were seeing her. But yeah, did you end up hearing? I don't know what the last thing I said, but I said that when families are desperate, that's when scammers show up.
Yes, yes, that's the
Okay,
last thing I heard.
cool. Because in this case, there was a man named Frank Jones that posted as a capable rescuer. He promised an
Mm,
operation that took massive amounts of money from the family, and it just turned out to be a con.
I was just about to say that. Also, I just want to clarify when I
Hmm.
said earlier I heard this story like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had very minimal bits and pieces of information. So kind of everything you're telling me is new information. That's
Oh,
I'm
no,
not
totally
acting like
fair. I
I
mean, you are an
but
actress.
yes, but I'm not a liar.
But
Sorry.
yeah,
I just wanted to
no,
throw
it's totally
that there.
fine. A couple of the details that I forgot to mention was that Amy Lynn also had a couple tattoos on her.
Oh, interesting.
So when people were having sightings of her, a lot of the people also confirmed that she had those tattoos in certain spots.
And that kind of like goes against one of my theories. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'll share at the end.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, that's when he decided to see a grieving family and looked at them as a way to make a profit.
Hmm. That's
Because
awful.
he did say at some point that there was some sightings of their daughter in, I keep forgetting where the island that the ship docked was called, Curacao. Um,
Curaçao, yeah.
and she was with a blonde man, and like you could see the tattoos on her.
Hmm.
So it got to the
Do you know
point
where the
where, what was that?
where you do you know where the tattoos were on her?
I think there was one like in her back shoulder, and I think there was one by her like ankle.
Okay, so like invisible areas. That makes sense.
Yes. And then eventually the family got a picture of this blonde man at the beach with a female, a woman that had a very similar physique to their daughters. And on
Okay.
there you could see that tattoo, I think, on her ankle. I don't think you could see the one on her like shoulder, but you could see the ankle one.
And this was before like
And
AI
then
and
um, they unfortunately find out that that was a stage photo. That it was
after I
a
just said that
man.
was before. Oh man.
They found out that that was a man wearing a wig, and it was kind of like a photo shoot thing for the con
That
artist.
is so screwed up. This
Hmm.
is just terrible. Exploitative is the perfect word of what he's doing to this poor family.
Yeah. And it would be years and years until she would finally be considered, I think, dead. And that was just because it had been about, I think, 10 plus years ever since she like disappeared, and there was just like no new evidence to go on.
That's awful.
Hmm. Now, let's talk about where you can chime in some of the conspiracy theories out there.
Okay.
Some of them are more grounded than others.
Hmm.
Um, the like most simple theory is that it was an accident. People fall, people slip, balconies become dangerous, especially at night. But there was no confirmed evidence. The family insisted that Amy was cautious around the railings. Um, and her leaving her shoes and ID behind, but her cigarettes and her like lighter gone still
Right.
doesn't explain how that was a she fell over the
Right.
balcony.
Hmm.
There was also the theory that there was some foul play on board because this includes the idea that something happened after she left the balcony area, either an encounter gone wrong or someone took advantage of her during a vulnerable moment. But there's
Mm-hmm.
just a ton of lack of physical evidence, and there's no confirmed
Mm-hmm.
timeline after she was last seen by her family.
Hmm.
I will say that on this cruise ship there was a videographer, and at some point it was just him taking videos of the cruise. I don't know if it was for advertisement or something, but he did see a woman resembling Amy Lynn back on the dance floor hours on the hours after she was supposedly disappeared from the balcony.
Okay.
Um, he ended up turning that cassette, that recording, to the crew members, but it took the crew members like a year plus to hand it over to the FBI.
Do we know why?
No. I think it's just one of those situations where they assumed that the FBI was going to ask for it and then they never asked for it, so they never gave it until like a year later.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I feel like in those situations, you're like, better be safe than sorry. Like, hey, we have this if you wanted.
Because my question is like, what does the company play in this, and what's their policy? And if safety
Hmm.
is of the utmost importance, like I don't I don't know. That's
Well,
so weird.
this was also 1998. So
Right.
things and people's like minds, like everything worked differently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was a very, very different time. Like nowadays, for sure, it would have been turned in right
No,
away, I think.
yeah, yeah. Another theory is that she left when the ship got to the port. But
Yeah.
this theory depends heavily on that docking window. That if she left the ship during the early chaos of the disembarkment, but the complications with this theory is that how would that have happened unnoticed if people were supposed to be on the lookout for her? Why would she leave without her essentials, passport and ID, shoes? And if the
Hmm.
early port sightings of Amy are reliable.
Yeah, that one for me, I think is either 50-50. Like they really could
Hmm.
have seen her or they really could not have. I That one's hard for me to
Yeah.
back up because I believe it, but I also don't.
Yeah. Other theories were that maybe she fell asleep somewhere else in the cruise and she didn't hear when they called for her to show up to the desk. Um, but it's still like
But
leaving,
then why did
I don't
she
know,
show
like
up for the rest of the cruise? Yeah.
I doubt that it's common to see people walking around without their shoes on. I feel like there's a policy for that, I would imagine.
It's actually not as it's not as uncommon as you'd think, at least
Okay.
in this day and age, because
Hmm.
you have the pool, you have so many things. So that to me actually doesn't really raise any red flags,
Okay.
especially if if her brother was out there until like 3:30 in the morning. Maybe she was just really tired and she wanted to go have a cigarette
Hmm.
in the pool. I mean, it's closed at that point, but maybe she went up there and just wanted to put her feet in, you know?
Hmm.
And then so it's not totally uncommon. It is weird because that's a really good way to get athlete's foot.
Hmm.
But and also too, I will say the ID and the passport, I actually do leave that in my room because I
Yeah.
don't want any chance of it getting stolen. But again, I live in a very different time, so
No, I feel like
I
it's
don't.
very common for people to leave the passport and ID in their room unless they're planning
Yeah,
to like finally disembark or something.
yes, because if you want to get back on the ship, you have to have that.
Hmm.
So to me, that lets me know she wasn't planning on leaving the ship
Yeah.
if she left
Um,
it in the room.
and then there's also the theory of maybe this was a voluntary disappearance.
Yeah, could have been. You said she was 23.
Hmm.
Had she graduated college?
She did, but she had plans to go back to it for a master's.
Hmm. So she had future plans.
Yeah. Once again, she was buying postcards for her friends.
Right, right. Maybe, yeah. I mean, it could have been.
Hmm.
Sometimes we kind of enter into that like phase of I don't know. When I went to grad school, I did have a little bit of a crisis of like, what if I just drop everything and move to a different country? So, and then maybe she was having that crisis and she was in the opportune place.
Hmm.
But then why would you go barefoot? So,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
totally fair. But it's just one of those
yeah.
things that like she left her essentials behind. She was close to her
Right.
family, and no confirmed contact ever. Like there's no like confirmed sightings of her in areas that's like, oh, like she just chose to settle down here or something.
My biggest theory, and I don't want to say it unless you have more theories.
Go ahead. I think it's that one. The other one I was going to mention, the reason that she might have not shown up when they called her name was that one of the theories is that she was asleep somewhere else on the boat, or that she was like shacked up with someone else.
Could have been. I tend to go, uh, what do we call this? Catastrophize.
Hmm.
And I don't want to make it seem like I am trying to make this more interesting to entertain people. But when I first heard this story, I actually heard this story like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. My mom is obsessed with this story, and her and I both think that this was an inside job with the
Hmm.
cruise line, and a crew member might have had some kind of involvement in like the trafficking ring
Hmm.
and like lured her out somehow, and that's why she's on the escort page and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my mind goes, which is awful and terrible, and I really hope that that's not the case. But I with all of this evidence, it just and the company's like lack of response and
Yeah.
things like that, like that could be, and that could just be the way that their policy is. I don't know, but it's a little like eyebrow raising.
No, definitely, definitely. It's definitely one of those theories of like, was this an inside job? Was someone involved? Because there
Yeah.
really was not like this is like a high priority. Like it definitely like was dumbed down to be like, let's not mess with the
Right.
ambiance. Let's keep things as
But
they
then,
are.
right. And like, don't everyone paid for a happy experience,
Hmm.
so we're going to keep it happy. And of course, having been on the customer service side of things, you don't want to jump to that right away, because that is using a lot of resources that could be used better. But on the flip side of that, I would rather be safe than sorry. So it's just a
Yes.
little tricky. But then when you mentioned the tattoos, that was the thing that kind of went against the trafficking theory, because typically traffickers don't look for anybody with tattoos or any kind of like noticeable marks on their body, because that means that they are an individual. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So, especially if they're in visible places, that's what kind of like went against the trafficking theory for me. However, it could have I'm not a trafficker, so I don't know, but um I they might have just I know that they look for people who are kind of, I don't know who they look for, to be honest, but I know that tattoos is usually, that's why I have three,
No.
because I don't want to be trafficked.
Because I am an individual. I am a person.
I am a person with rights. So, like I said, I hope that that's not the case. Like that's, no matter what, it's just an awful, terrible, so sad story of like this family hoping to have a fun vacation.
Yeah.
Um, but it really does make you wonder, and it makes you realize how easy it is to just disappear.
Yeah.
So easy.
Now, there was another sighting of her from a man called David Carmichael. He
Okay.
was a Canadian tourist who was visiting Curaçao in August of 1998. This was a couple months
Mm.
after she originally disappeared, 5 months after.
Mm.
And Carmichael said that he was in the beach area with some freshwater rinse stations, and that he noticed a woman walking with two men kind of like following her from behind.
Mm.
And he said that because he was a Canadian tourist, and in Curaçao, the primary languages spoken are like Portuguese and Spanish.
Okay.
Amy didn't speak Portuguese or Spanish.
Hmm.
But the tourist, Carmichael, said that when Amy realized that he spoke English, her behavior changed and she
Mm.
started walking faster towards him, almost as if trying to like get help from a English speaking person.
Right.
But that the two men were getting closer to her, and eventually she just didn't end up talking to him.
And because if that was the case, then she could put him in danger too,
Hmm. Yeah.
which isn't going to help her in the long run.
And in that situation, he also reported seeing tattoos that matched Amy's. She had the one on her shoulder. I think it was the Tasmanian devil,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
then
and that's like a specific tattoo.
yeah, and then like a gecko like near her navel, and like other like tattoos on her.
And those
But
aren't
one
like your generic the mill like flowers. Like those are really specific
exactly.
tattoos.
The unfortunate thing was that the resemblance to her was never confirmed, and law enforcement did
Mm.
not substantiate this like link. There was like no arrest, no corroboration, no physical evidence. It was just a sighting.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But that's
I
kind
mean,
of like
all the
all the theories I
sightings.
have for you.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and like all the sightings of her on the island so long after the cruise. I mean, that just kind of confirms the whole like maybe kidnapping or abduction or something. Um, but you said they eventually just ruled it off as like she was dead.
um, I mean, there was no body found, so at some point you just gotta declare them dead.
Yeah, yeah. Cold case. That's one of those stories that really sticks with you. Like
Hmm.
when if I were given the opportunity to learn the outcome of something, this is one of the stories I'd want to know. The other one is the Dyatlov Pass. Um, but like, and that's what makes it hard being a young woman traveling too, is like
Hmm.
how easy it is, like I said, to just disappear, whether it's of your own will or someone else's. And if someone else did do this, look how easy it was for them to make it look like she wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, the
like 'cause
thing
that's a lot
also,
of series.
when you talked about when it comes to like human trafficking, you don't want people that have like markings on them, like tattoos. Um,
Mhm.
you also, I would imagine you also don't want to take someone that is traveling actively with their family.
Right, because then that means they know that someone's going to go looking for them.
Exactly. You would
And
kind
this
of just want
case,
to go ahead.
you want somebody who blends in and like, you know, wouldn't, yeah, just somebody who blends in. But um this case is now so high profile and like international at this point. Like I wouldn't be surprised if she's just hiding away somewhere. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's just like
I mean, to
it's
get the
just
FBI to get involved and everything.
and I always wonder about when things like this happen, especially on international waters. Like I
Hmm.
am always thinking about that when I'm cruising is if something were to happen, I mean Disney is registered in the US, so they have to follow US law. But like if something were to happen, at what point is there a collaboration? Is there I don't know. It just sometimes I have to stop myself from thinking because I get really in it. But yeah, after my mom learned about this story, we went on a cruise. And she was like practically holding my hand the whole time because she was just like
It was
I
so
don't
fresh in the back of her mind, and she's like,
well, and she's also a little bit paranoid, so I give her that. I'm not a parent, so I don't know what that's like, and I'm also 31, so um, a little bit older than Amy was, but Yeah, she was like constantly, because it's so true how easy it is for you to just turn your back for 1 second and turn around and they're gone. Like that happened at the
Yeah.
airport when we were flying back, where I had told her and I thought she heard me that I was going to the bathroom. And so I walked away, and I came back out, and she was just kind of, she wasn't flipping out or anything. She wasn't causing a scene, but she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't hear you say you were going to the bathroom. It was so easy for you to disappear and blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "I
Hmm.
know, but I texted you." So check your phone.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for sharing this story. One, so that way people can learn about it and hopefully we get some kind of resolve. But two,
Yeah,
it's such
they did
like a
do um like when they take like the original picture and then like they age them on that picture. So
yeah.
so they've done that with her in case like someone does come across her.
Hmm.
But she was declared dead in 2010, so like about
Hmm.
12 years after her missing. And it
Mm.
was like a legal necessity, not because she was dead for sure.
Right.
Typically, 7 or more years in the US law, families are allowed to petition the court to have
Okay.
them declared dead for legal administrative rights.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, some people do it for practical and financial reasons,
Hmm.
like to settle like estate matters, revenue, property, things like that. But in this
Oh,
situation, I
that
think it's just because it had been just like 12 years of her missing, and they're like, let's just because
and
we
they don't have
declare
any
her dead
leads,
does not mean
probably.
that she's actually dead. Yeah.
Right, right. They have to attend to other cases eventually. And if you don't have any leads at a certain point, I get it. I do not envy people in law enforcement, because, or whoever is in charge of declaring somebody dead if they don't really know, like, at what point do you do that? And that's just got to be so hard, especially if the family wants to keep looking, you know?
Yeah. Well, um, yeah, that was the case of Amy Lynn Bradley. She had disappeared in March 24th of 1998. She was last confirmed alive in the balcony with her family. There was apparently about a 30-minute window that she was gone. There was no fall, no
And they
eyewitnesses of
didn't
her
hear
leaving the
her
ship.
leave. Like,
Mhm.
that's what's weird to me.
I mean, I
Did
would
they hear?
understand the brother not hearing her leave because he was up till like 3:40 in the morning, but the parents at that point had
Right.
had a bit more of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the doors on cruise ships are heavy. So it's not like you can, like, I
Yeah,
mean, you
I
can
doubt
just,
there were any lighter in 1998.
yeah, they're probably even heavier, to be honest. But like, unless she worked really hard to, like, make sure it closed quietly. I mean, here's what the timeline that makes most sense to me is, because she was sitting on the balcony of her parents' room, of their room, right? Not just like a random balcony.
Hmm.
Okay. So if she's sitting out there, she has her cigarettes, and maybe she's like, you know what, it would be nicer to go on the top floor and like look at the ocean or something. So she goes out there, it doesn't take her shoes, and then from there, maybe she's abducted, or because it's the middle of the night and the crew are the people who know where the cameras are and where they're not. So they have the most information, and someone from the crew could have taken her there and then, like, taken her off the ship from a crew only thing. Like,
Yeah,
that's the thing that just makes the most sense to me is, um, somebody took her.
especially with so many
Or
sightings
she,
in Curaçao afterwards.
well, and I'm pretty sure, was there anything that said at what time the ship docked? Because they usually get there
I'm
pretty early in the morning.
sure I can look it up.
Because from what my knowledge is, because I've cruised to the Bahamas before, that makes me sound so elitist, but um, we usually get there at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So
Okay, this was at six
if
in the
she fell
morning.
off, so they docked at 6.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, so then she could have been in the ocean still. So I guess she could have fallen off the balcony. Maybe she fell asleep and fell off, but I don't know. But then that doesn't explain the missing cigarette and lighters. This is why I could
Yeah,
never
I
be an
mean,
investigator.
most likely she did go out to take a break, and then at that point something happened.
Yeah.
Because if you're just stepping out to just take a cigarette break, you can come back. There's no need for like your shoes or your ID.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
urgency around it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, it's just such a heartbreaking story because there's no closure,
yeah.
especially for the
Um,
family. I just feel so terrible for the family.
I know when it comes to things like this with the family, like the families are just there's no closure for them.
No, there isn't. And then imagine if she's alive and like how much of her life she's lost and if she
Yeah,
is found one day to recover from that, like, oh my gosh, it makes me spiral. Not that it's about
yeah.
me, but
No, no,
it's
like
just
it just
like
makes your brain keep going of like what they missed, like what they could have done, like a lot of things. Yeah.
yeah, because our brain wants
Um,
to fill in the gaps. So it's just
mhm.
gonna make up whatever that makes the most
And this
sense.
is one of those
And
stories that's just filled with gaps.
it's so many gaps. It's just one long gap, to be honest.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. And I would hate to be the investigator working on this case because there's no way, there's nowhere to go with it.
yeah, yeah. But if there's anyone in Curacao or just anywhere that happens to see her, I'll put
Hmm.
pictures on the Instagram and like on the YouTube video. But
Yeah, that's a good idea.
reach out to the FBI.
Yeah, I
Just they have a
mean,
tip line. Check their website, and fingers crossed she's still out there.
I hope she is. I hope she's okay. I hope she's safe. And at the end of the day, I do hope that this was at will and she got what she wanted. And
Hmm.
I
Like a
don't
fresh
know if
start.
that, yeah, maybe that's what she needed. Maybe she was struggling and she just didn't tell anybody, but you know,
Because it's one of those things where like people say that like, oh, like she was never suicidal or like she was very content with her life. And it's like, yeah, but like that's the facade that a lot of people put up.
yeah, like it's always the people who do follow through with it are always the ones that you don't think will. And so that's why I never
Hmm.
really followed that lead of, you know, she seemed
Yeah.
okay, everything seems okay, you know. And
There
that's why I
is
was asking
specific. Go ahead.
that's why I was asking if she had graduated already because if a lot of times we see it in like college age students when they're at that age of like if they haven't graduated yet and they're maybe not doing so well in school or they have graduated and then they're like now what, you know, so there's that
Hmm.
kind that's why I was kind of thinking that existential crisis route um because a lot can go on mentally there.
Yeah. Also having like your own thoughts at like 3 in the morning.
Right, right. We've all been there. We've all had those thoughts at 3 in the morning and then at like 10 a.m. you're like that didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I always think that my often 3 a.m. thought is that I'm gonna die alone, you know, and then I like wake up the next day and I'm like, I'm everything's fine. I don't know what I was worried about, but in that moment, it gets really
Yeah.
real, you know. So that's a really
Oh,
good
I've been
point.
there. I'm like, I need sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the
Yeah.
time I should stop scrolling and
Hmm.
close
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
laptop.
But it like
Yeah,
in my head, I do believe like she had plans to go back, continue her life. She was gonna go like back to school. She got postcards for her
sure.
friends telling them how much like it's not like she was not like
See,
making
that's me
attempts to
thinking of the
reach
people.
out.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense, and that makes sense. That's why it doesn't kind of like fall totally in line, is because she was thinking about the people that care about her and that she cared about, and things like that. And
Hmm.
yeah, where was the family from?
Um, the Bradley family was from Virginia.
Okay, so not too far from. They probably cruised out of somewhere close to there. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I hope the family finds some kind of closure too.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's been how many years?
30, 24.
27, going on 28 years. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
And I'm
Well,
just
thank you
like,
again for sharing.
yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad that like this was something like I know some of it. And you're like, and now there's a lot
Yes.
more details.
Yeah, there were a lot more details that I was missing. But sorry, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, that's totally fine. I was also thinking of like, I wonder like if the brother has like any like guilt, like survivor's guilt type of thing, because he
Yeah,
was the
like where
last
he's
person
at
to
with
see
it.
her and talk to her.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
He
maybe like
must
he's
be.
like, oh, I should have waited for her. Like we should have like I should have checked on her or something. But
Right, right. But then again, I mean, it's totally rational to not because you're like,
yeah,
we're just in
you
our
were
room.
tired. You
Like,
were in your room, which is technically supposed to be safe. Yeah,
right, right. So, I mean, I probably would do the same thing to be totally honest. And
honestly,
it's
yeah.
like, it's just one of those things where you just don't have control.
Hmm. But yeah,
Like, oh
so
my gosh.
sorry
Wow.
to do this to you, Sam, but I hope you have a good cruise.
Well, the thing with that is at least even though these stories are have awful endings, they do teach me to be a lot more aware of my surroundings and what could potentially go wrong.
Hmm.
So, I just stick to my routine. I make myself known. I make
Yeah.
friends with the crew and you know, stick to Disney.
If you took anything from this, folks, just stick to Disney.
Yeah. Although there is a very
um,
similar case like this where a girl disappeared on a Disney cruise, so you're not safe anywhere.
yeah, but
Did not sound good, but
I would imagine safer than 1998.
yeah, yes, exactly. That's the one thing I have going for me is um but I do recommend cruises. Worth it.
Says the not human trafficker.
I swear I'm not.
uh,
Oh my god, that is such an
but
awful
but
thing.
yeah, Sam. What do you have for us now?
Yes. Okay. So, switching gears a little bit. So, Jay had asked me to think of like any kind of spiritual experiences I've had or spooky experiences I've had. And I'm always happy to chat about that stuff. And I have a long list. Um, and most of the things I've experienced are pretty short lived. And when I was
Hmm.
thinking about it, whenever I've had what I think is an encounter with the other side or a ghost, if you will, or a spirit, I've never been scared when it happens. It always, there was only one where I was really scared. But every time something unexplained happens, because sometimes maybe it is just physics and something just falls, but
Hmm.
um, anytime something unexplained happens, it feels just like I have company and I need to like remind them, hey, this is my space too. So
Hmm.
like a couple weeks ago, I noticed
Oh,
like
this is
things were just
recent.
yeah, yeah. Things were just falling a lot. Like when I get home from work, I have a backpack and my purse, and I always put my purse on one dining room chair, and I always put my backpack on another dining room chair. And I get home from work around 7:30 or 8 and I put it down and then I'm in bed and I have sleep issues, so it takes me a long time to fall asleep sometimes. So I was in bed and then at like 2 or 3 in the morning I heard my backpack just fall off the chair and I was like, okay, that couldn't be just gravity because my backpack has been sitting there since like 8 p.m. Again, I don't feel scared, I don't feel threatened. I'm just like if you're here just be nice. And so, but I just chalked it up to like maybe it was just like leaning on something the whole time. And then so I fell asleep and I woke up and right when I woke up, my book I had laying on the pillow next to me just slid off the pillow onto the floor. And I was like, all right. I stood up, I got out of bed, and I acted like I was talking to a 5-year-old. And I was like, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. You're welcome to be here if you're nice, if you're kind and respectful, but you cannot. Can I swear? Okay. I didn't know if you had like, you're muted.
Yes, yes, you can. Sorry, I didn't realize I
Okay.
muted myself. But yeah, go
No,
for
it's
it.
okay. Because I swore at the ghost and I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
you cannot fuck with my shit. Like, this is a shared space. I live here and you're welcome to stay here, but you cannot mess with my stuff. Not because it scares me, but because it's really inconvenient. I don't want
Hmm.
to bend over. Like, I don't want to bend over and pick something up. I'm too old for that. And
Hmm.
after that, haven't had any issues. Everything has
Okay.
stayed in its spot. My Christmas ornaments were also falling in the middle of the night and things like that. So it could have just been gravity, it could have just been physics or whatever, but I
I'm
just
just
after
gonna
that
say it, Sam. If it's gravity, you have a lot of it.
I have a lot of gravity in my apartment. Or I'm just really bad at putting things away. But when I first moved into this apartment 2-ish years ago, I was losing stuff all the time and it was not in the place where I put it last. And again, I've never been scared of that kind of stuff. It's mostly just like, can you stop? Can you not? Like, geez. But then it kind of escalated to like being touched. And I don't mind that. I surprisingly, I don't know why I don't mind it. Like, it would just feel like somebody tapping my shoulder or my arm, or like I'd be sitting on the couch and like I'd feel a cold spot next to me and all that stuff. I don't care. I think the reason why I don't care is because we're sharing this plane with other
Hmm.
spirits and I hope one day if I were a spirit that was still earthbound, whoever I was haunting was okay with it. Like,
Okay.
I'm just trying to have empathy for whoever used to live here. But when they started touching me while I was sleeping, that's when I was like, you gotta stop.
Oh.
Like, that's when I started the like, we're gonna salt the door, we're gonna like, put crystals everywhere. And I did stop after that. And after a while I kind of missed it.
So I took the salt
But
away and I put the crystals away.
back. I'm just so touch deprived. But
Oh, I think it's so funny
but
that you actually mentioned that because
yeah.
in my head I was like, little news for the listeners. I'm going back to Podfest in January to Florida. And last year they
Yay!
gave us the chance to do stand up and we chose to do some improv. But this year I was like, wait, I kind of want to give
Ooh,
stand up a chance. So I started working on this thing
sure.
and I was like, yeah, like I work at the Winchester Mystery House. And I was like, which is great,
Absolutely.
like, but then I was all at some point I was talking about like, yeah, like, and one day I asked management, what would happen if someone got poltergroped?
Ooh.
There was no like,
Where's the FBI for that?
and I was just like, like sometimes I like wouldn't mind that, like not because it's a ghost, but because I've been single too long.
I
Um,
know. That's how hard it is to date in 2025, going into
mhm,
2026, is we're resorting to dating the afterlife.
mhm.
Like, it has to be going really poorly.
Standards have really they,
Really,
they haven't
literally,
they haven't like
literally, I
gone down, but like we're more open to like the
they're
dating
definitely
pool.
changing. That's
Uh,
hilarious. Oh my god, that'd
yeah.
be a great bit. Please do.
Hmm. But yeah, so
That's
when you mentioned that, I was
funny.
like, oh my God, like I can't believe like we're on the same wavelength of like I don't mind a touch here and there because I've been single so long.
Absolutely. I know. I was like, I'm gonna sweep that salt away. Here's
But
my
yes,
safe zone.
keep going.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like being spooked in my apartment, everything has been fine. Like, I don't feel like I'm in danger or anything. No one has ever been scared to be here. Like, um, so and I like living here, but I do think I do have an inkling that the dropping things was my grandpa trying to get my attention
Oh.
because um he was a little bit of a jokester, my great grandfather. And when I was 12, he passed away. And
Hmm.
so in October, I went to go visit his grave for the first time since I was 12 years old. So it had been like almost 20 years. And it was a really emotional thing for me because, I miss him and, I hadn't been to the grave before and before his funeral and all that stuff. And so when I was there, this was in Seattle. So it was pouring rain and super gray and gloomy. And when I was there, I was standing at the grave and I told him I missed him. And I was like, if you're there, if you're with me, please give me a sign. Please give me a sign that you're with
Hmm.
me. And I kid you not, the rain immediately stopped. The clouds broke apart and the sun came through. I mean, that was not in the forecast at all. And it was sunny the rest of the day. And I'm getting goosebumps
Wow.
about it. Like, I don't know if it was just a weather pattern or a coincidence or what have you, but like, it just really made me feel like he was really there and really listening. And then, so that was at the end of October. No, that was early November. And then the things started
Hmm.
falling like during Thanksgiving when the holidays are. And we would normally go visit him on Thanksgiving
That's what I was
every
gonna
year.
ask, if there was like a significance around that time frame.
Right, right. And so
Oh.
at first I was like, oh, this has to be like some weird spirit that's just attached to me. And then I realized, oh, wait, it's probably Grandpa Nooker. And then I felt bad for treating him like a 5-year-old, but it's not the case.
See, I was gonna, when you were telling me that you started like that you stood up and you started talking to the ghost, in my head,
Yeah,
like as you were explaining, I was like, oh, like gentle parenting. And then you're like, can I swear? I
literally.
was like, not gentle parenting.
It's all about how you say it, not necessarily what you say.
Yeah.
Sit here, you
Okay.
little poop head. Yeah, so that that has mostly been like my physical experience. Although I did see one ghost. I've never seen a ghost, but the one time I did, that's the one that really scared me, which I don't know if we have. Do I have time?
Yeah, you have a whole hour for yourself if you want to use it.
Okay, just kidding. I do have to go to bed. So, this one, it did spook me. I was telling my brother this story right before this. Because when I tell the story, it doesn't seem scary, but when I was in it, it was like freaky. So, like I told you before, my college undergrad was it's a refurbished mental institution. So, it used to be, I think it used to be the Camarillo State Hospital or something like that. And it got
Hmm.
shut down during Reagan's era, President Reagan's era. And it actually was a very well functioning institution for folks who were mentally disabled or had mental health issues. And they were really well cared for. And then once the institution shut down, they're basically homeless and just sent on the street, no care
Yeah.
whatsoever. So in 20, when did I go to college? 2012. So in 2002, I had to like think about it. The school got refurbished from an institution to a college. And when I went there in 2012, there were still parts of the college that were unrefurbished and like abandoned, quote unquote. And so, you would, as an 18-year-old, you would like sneak into the abandoned parts of the building and stuff like that. But the
How
dorms,
often did you do that?
I did it a lot my first year. And then I moved off campus. And once I moved off campus, I didn't really do it because it was actually pretty dangerous. Like you could get tetanus and there was asbestos everywhere and things
Oh.
like that. So, um, and I was pretty straight edge in college. So people would go to like
Hmm.
drink and do drugs and stuff like that. But I wasn't really into that. So I got over it pretty quickly. The NSYNC music video Crazy was filmed there, which I think is ironic.
Really?
Yes. And
Wow.
Pearl Harbor was filmed there. So just some food for thought. But the dorm that I lived in actually did used to be where the patient slept.
Hmm.
So when I moved in, I knew that I was in for something. So I don't remember at what point in the year this was, but it must have been before Christmas because I was living in this specific dorm. But the way it was set up is you open the door and there's like this like vertical hallway, and you have like it goes side to side instead of like in front, and you have
Okay.
one room in front of you on the left and one room in front of you on the right, and there were three of us in each room, two of us in each room. And so I was laying down in my bed, my light was off, my roommate was in her bed, and we didn't talk very much to each other. So when this happened, I knew that she was freaked out because she was talking to me.
Okay.
um, and the hallway light was on. So I'm sitting on my bed, and the door is like right next to me on my right, and I'm watching Supernatural of all things. So I guess I summoned it in some way. But I'm watching Supernatural, and then I hear something happening at the door, and my other roommate I was expecting her to come home, so I thought it was her. So I turned over, and I didn't see her come in, but I saw from the like back corner walk across my doorway was a tall shadowy silhouette of a man. He was wearing like a bowler hat slash fedora. He had on a long trench coat. The collar was popped, and he had these big, heavy boots. And I could hear the like stomping of his boots. And I looked over, and it was just like three steps. It was one, two, three. He walked right across the doorway into my roommate's other room,
Yeah.
and I was just like frozen in fear. Not that I thought he was going to hurt me, but more like, did I really just see that? Like, did I just, that really happened? And so I thought, okay, I didn't. So I looked over at my roommate and I was like, did you see that? And she goes, yes. And I was like, shit, damn it, that means it's real. And so we gathered ourselves, and the only way out of the dorm is to walk where this ghost walked. So we put our heads down and we put our hands out like this, and we stormed out, and we went to the residence office, and one of the police officers was there. The campus police was there, and I was telling him like what happened, and I'm like, I don't know what he can do. You can't arrest a ghost, but I was just like so like wrapped up in it. And he goes, relax, this place isn't haunted. And I'm like, you just have to say that to keep your job and whatever. And so then
Is that
finally,
what you told him?
oh yeah, I was a
Okay.
mouth year old. And I was so scared that I just didn't care. I was like, someone has to do something. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm gonna get possessed in the middle of the night, you know? Before I was a witch, so I didn't know how to protect myself.
Hmm.
And so then I saw my roommates walking towards the dorm, and I was like chasing them down, and I was like, oh my God, we just saw a ghost and it walked into your room. And she goes, this like makes me tear up because it's so freaky. She goes, oh, was he wearing a bowler hat and a trench coat? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, yeah. And she goes, oh, I see him walk in your room all the time. Okay. Oh my God, have I told this whole story and you've been frozen? That's hysterical.
Sorry, I froze.
I just realized, and I had told the rest of the story, and I was like, that's not the reaction I wanted, Jay.
Sorry, would you
Anyway,
care to share again? Because the
yeah,
last thing you told me is like, that's before I knew how to protect myself. And yeah.
okay. Okay. So I saw my roommates walking towards the dorm, and I chased them down, and I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Before you go in there, just so you know, um, I saw a ghost. We saw a ghost. And this part, like, makes me tear up because it's so freaky. She goes, I'm not even kidding. She's like, oh, was the ghost wearing a bowler hat and a trench coat? And I was like, yes. And she's like, oh, I've seen him walk into your room a million times.
No.
Oh, thank you for
And that
that
was like the
tidbit.
first time that you saw him walking.
I
Like,
saw him. Yeah.
I
So,
mean, they didn't bother telling you before, like, hey, by the way, like this tall man with a
nope.
bowler hat has been walking to your room for the past nights.
I don't talk to those people anymore because after that, I moved. I was like, "Get me out. I wanna go somewhere else."
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was weird. And then once I moved, I was fine. I went to a different
Okay.
dorm, and then the next year I moved off campus, but it
I
was
think it's
scary.
wild that you brought this up because I got chills, like goosebumps as you were saying this.
Thank you.
Um, have you heard of the Hat Man?
Yes,
That
but
is a
not, like, in depth, but I know that he's kind of like a legend, right? Or, like, some like the not
that
like the
was
but
what was walking into your room. That's who it was.
um, oh,
Um, because as soon as you said that, I was like, is this going where I think it's going? And it went there. Uh, tall, solid black silhouette, uh, broad brimmed hat or fedora or top hat,
yeah,
bowler hat. Sometimes people see him with like glowing eyes, but
I didn't
also
see
like the
eyes.
trench coat and like also like sitting in like a doorway or like hallway.
Oh my god, Jay, I'm gonna start crying.
Okay, I
Oh my god, you're
um
frozen. Of course, this
if
is
at
where you would.
some point you want to look it up, you're welcome
No,
to,
no, I
or we can
experienced
do that.
it.
Okay.
I don't want him to
I need to
find me.
get my sister on the podcast as well because she also had a experience with the Hat Man
So this
at our
is you don't
house.
oh fuck. Okay, so this isn't like a oh an old resident at the like this is
No,
like a thing.
this is a thing. Yeah.
I am like, where's my
I know you're gonna salt your door after this.
just my stage?
hmm
Oh
Um,
God,
and like
I
the thing
don't.
is, like my sister woke up in the middle of the night because my dad gets up to work super early, so she thought it was him. And like her door was open, and she saw like a tall man like just waving at her like the shadow, and like she just turned around and went back to sleep thinking it was my dad. But then later she was like, no, like it was wearing a hat. It was way too tall to be my dad. But yeah,
What does he want?
no one knows. It's like there's sightings of this hat man.
Okay, does he just want to be loved? Like, I can do that. I can, just I just don't want him to possess me and control my mind.
Honestly, I don't think he would do that. I just don't think that anyone's had like a negative experience with him. It's just been
Okay, that makes me feel
sightings.
better. Yeah, okay, that
Yeah.
makes me feel a lot better.
I want to
That
tell you
really
something else that like the common sightings have been, but I don't want to freak you out, so I think I'll keep it to myself for now.
okay, tell me in the daylight. And
Sounds good.
then on the next episode you can update everybody on what my reaction was.
Will do.
And then I and then imagine I start convulsing and spitting fire.
Oh gosh, no.
That's wild. Well, it's funny that you mentioned that too because I remember my cousin. So technically my dad's cousin.
hmm
So my second cousin, first cousin once removed, something like that. Um, she lived in Ventura, which is like 20 minutes from where the college was, and she's psychic. She's a medium. And so I went to
hmm
her right after and I stayed with her for like a couple nights because I was like, I've never had this. I don't know what to do. And she told me I was fine and everything like that because her late husband at the time, he passed away a while ago. But he was full blooded Navajo Indian. And so they gave me like, I think she gave me sage, but I couldn't burn it. So she gave me something to at least hold on to like keep the area cleansed and things like that. But I think that was like my entry into like, I should be a witch to protect myself. So yeah, that was the only thing that like I did again, I was only scared because I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel like I was in
Yeah.
danger or anything like that, but then I was like that was like my like snap to reality of like this is where you're living. this is what used to be here.
Mm-hmm.
The past still exists, and sometimes the past and the present kind of converge, and you get to see it. So
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty wild.
Wow. And what was this school called again?
California State Channel Islands.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, it was only like 5 years old at the time when I went there. It was a pretty new university. No, it was 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay. The school was
yeah.
5 years old, not you.
No, I was 18.
Because it sounded like you said I was only 5 years old, and I was like, the school, right?
Yeah,
We got a
so
child prodigy here.
but like other than that, I've had like, you know, flashes of spirits I would imagine are spirits. One time a friend of a friend, I never met her, but she had passed away and I didn't know she was passed away. And so I was out at a winery and this girl was standing next to me and she was leaning over and looking at me like this. And I like looked at her and I waved and then I turned around and I turned back and she was gone. And I was like, oh, girlfriend had to pee or something. I don't know. And then I find out later that day that a girl that looked like the girl I saw had died. And and I imagine it was her, um,
Oh.
which was pretty like again, I wasn't scared. I was actually very sad because she was so young, and
Yeah.
um there was just a lot of like emotion around it. And so I got flowers for her just to like commemorate and like honor the fact that I think I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't
So
know if I
sweet.
really saw you, but if it was you, just know this is a safe space and all that stuff. And again, it was pouring rain when I did this, and I looked out the window and there was a full rainbow. I could see the end of either side. Normally, when I see a rainbow, you can't really see, you only see half of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was like woof. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, it was her. She saw it. She acknowledges me. There you go. Like,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So most of my spirit interactions have been like that, have been really sweet and
Like positive and small and sweet.
yeah, really positive. And I think that's what makes me drawn to the other side is these are actual people that have died. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
not scary. That's why I'm not against ghost hunting in any means. I do think it's important to have the knowledge and to like
Mm-hmm.
better understand the other side and how we can communicate with them. But shows like that
Ghost
try to,
hunters.
yeah, that try to like egg them on and get a reaction out of them. It just, to me, it feels like almost disrespectful because it's like somebody is trying to rest and you're trying to wake them up. And usually those people that
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for died traumatically. And why would you want to
Yeah.
make them live that? And oftentimes spirits are stuck in the moment that they died. So it's like, I don't know. But I still watch them. So I'm like, do I really like so,
Fair.
you
The
know,
couple times I've done it, it's been very much of like gentle parenting. I was like,
absolutely.
hey, I was like, this is how this machine works. I was like, if you go on this side, it does this really cool thing. If you
Yeah.
go on this side, it does this really other cool thing. It's just gentle parenting on my side. And I'm sure that at some point I could just be talking to like a middle-aged man. Like,
Right.
and he's like, I know how it works.
It's
But I
like
was
you
like,
patronize me.
yeah. And I'm like, I'm not trying to patronize you. I was like, I'd rather just not mock you type of thing.
Absolutely. And it's just like, and I hope that we get to a point where if that is something you want to do, it's all like what you do, where it's like, I
Hmm.
just want to hear your story. I don't want to poke the bear. I don't want to like intentionally get scared. I don't want to make you mad. Like just hearing the story and getting to know who they were. So that's always why I've never been scared of ghosts. I've never, at least when they present themselves to me in a nice way. If you present
Hmm.
yourself to me in a spooky way where you're like hovering over my bed, like I'm going to be a little freaked out
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't know what you are. That's why when like the touching me at night happened, I was like, we got to stop with that. That's just,
Let's set some boundaries.
we're going to have to set some boundaries here. And now that I've talked about it, they're probably going to do it again tonight, which is awesome.
If you fall asleep.
If I fall asleep, right?
Hmm.
So, um, but yeah, so I'm glad that it kind of led me down the witchy path, because it has the witchy stuff, whether it is like spicy psychology, as they say, or actual magic, like it has brought me a lot of comfort, and it just gives me a lot of like a new way to explore my sense of self and who I am and what I can do. And,
Mm-hmm.
if I really am talking to a spirit, like that's pretty freaking cool,
Yeah.
like there's no quantitative physical way that we have yet that we can do that. So I
Yeah,
want to
it's a lot of like science would like to prove it, but there's like no hard evidence. And yeah.
Right. And I do think I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but there are some things where I will like die on the hill for. I do think the government has figured out a way to talk to dead people and they don't want to tell us. There has to be.
Mm.
Like,
We have to have another episode where we talk about that because there's so many like experiments
yes.
that they've done like years ago that they've disclosed as time goes by. Yeah.
Right, right. Or just like even going back to the witch trials. I mean, I know that was mostly rooted in misogyny and sexism and all that stuff, but like there has always been this like fear of that there is more that we can do that we're just not willing to, and we've always wanted to like suppress it. And I'm not about that. If you can use it safely, not to hurt yourself or anyone else, why not? So I don't know, it's made
Hmm.
me feel way more empowered in who I am the more I get to know that side of myself.
Good.
Whether
I
or not
love
I'm
that.
insane,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like if I'm questioning if
But
I'm
hey, if
insane.
you are, so is like a quarter of the world.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because someone's worse off than me, so that's awful. But
well,
but
Sam,
yeah,
thank you for coming.
thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. I really, really had a good
Honestly,
time.
it really was. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so glad you did because that's what I was hoping you would have, like a good time.
Oh, absolutely. Like I
Well,
said, love to talk. You gave me a microphone and a camera. Game over.
your reactions were great, especially when I was like, "This is a story." You're like, "Ah." Other than that, if the listeners would like to give you a follow, where can they stalk you? Where can they find you? Like in social
Yeah.
media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at sjeanne Jeanne _A. I am pretty private. I have a pretty basic profile, but if I know that you follow Jay or Chambers of the Occult, then I'll probably let you in. If not, then I'm gonna keep you guessing.
Love that. And with that, I guess we'll wrap up for tonight, Sam.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, folks, thank you for listening. You know where to find us, and have a great rest of your night or day or whatever you're doing. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chambers of the Occult. For photos, sources, or anything else mentioned during the episode, check out our website at chambersoftheoccult.com. You'll find everything you need there if you need to find yourself wanting more. You can also follow us on all our socials at Chambers of the Occult and Twitter at COT Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, personal anecdotes, or concerns, let us know. Fill out our contact form on our website, email us at chambersoftheoccult@gmail.com, or leave us a message on our socials. We would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed what you heard, we would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. It is absolutely the best way to show your support. It would mean the world. Until next time.